Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Coco, and if you have seen any of my vlogs, you probably know that I am a serial DNFer. I will DNF a book for any reason, at any time, and I DNF'd 21 books last year in 2025, so I thought it would be fun to do a tier ranking video and let you know exactly why I DNF these or how I felt about them when I did DNF them, because I don't have time for a bad book. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I have a list of my 21 books here that I DNF'd, and these are my tiers. First is If You Love It, Let It Go. That is something that's probably my own fault, something that I just decided at the time I didn't want to read, and I didn't want to read it at the time, so I DNF'd it. The next one is It's Not You, It's Me. Kind of similar to If You Love It, Let It Go, but more like there's something that I can't help about myself that makes me not be able to read this book. I have a few that I know I'm going to be putting in this category. The next is Mid, and literally it's just not great, not bad, probably not memorable. So unfortunately there's probably going to be several that go in this category. I have No, It's Definitely You. These are books that it's the reason for my DNFing is either the author or the book itself. And then the next is How Dare You, and I feel like this one speaks for itself. So the first book that I want to talk about is one that, let's just talk about the one I most recently DNF'd. I DNF'd up to December 29th this year, and I started DNFing in January, so I DNF all year. The one that I DNF'd most recently, it's All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, and this is It's Not You, It's Me, partially because it just has graphic depictions of GUN violence, which I can't handle, and talks about ideation, so I couldn't do it. But also I felt like this was very apologetic to law enforcement, and I should have realized that I don't like books about detectives or cops or anything like that, so I should have realized I wouldn't like this book. So I DNF'd that pretty early on. The next book that I'll talk about is one that I DNF'd because it was giving Republican, and that's Flawless by Elsie Silver. There was a lot of telling and not showing, which bothered me, but also I should have realized any sort of cowboy romance, even if it's, I can't remember if this one is set in Canada or not, is going to give MAGA, it's going to give Republican. So this one is a How Dare You, because gross. The next one, let's be a little nicer. Let's do something that I DNF'd probably for my own fault. How about, let's do Nestlings. This one It's Not You, It's Me, because it has bugs in it, and I have a phobia of bugs, and I just couldn't do it. Same with Camp Damascus, which that one I'm going to put If You Love It, Let It Go, because I really want to come back to this. This is a religious horror book about a conversion camp and Damascus beetles. And I love Chuck Tingle's work, so I really want to come back to this one. I really hope I end up coming back to this. I love Chuck Tingle, so I'm going to let him go and see if this book will come back to me and if I can get through it. How about Kill for Me, Kill for You, Steve Kavanaugh? This one was incredibly mid, and I honestly don't remember much about it. It's about, I think, two people who meet on a train and decide that they're gonna kill a person for each other, and then the one's like, wait, I didn't actually want you to do it, but the person had already killed that person, which why would you even make that pact if you didn't actually want? Anyway, I don't know. It just was boring and sounded like every other thriller book that I've ever read in my entire life, so I did not continue. Shady Hollow. This should be called Shitty Hollow, am I right? This book is an enigma because the premise is fun. It's supposed to be like a tongue-in-cheek, these are some anthropomorphic animals and a murder occurs. The animals in this little village need to figure out who killed, I don't remember what animal it was. It was another animal. This is not a children's book, so they don't have the excuse of saying like, well, it's okay that they're just really stereotypical because, you know, it's supposed to be a silly kid's book. It's not, because there's graphic depictions of murder in it. So they don't have that excuse. It's just so boring, and the animals have no depth to them. They're supposed to be human-like and have personalities. Their personality is literally just a stereotype of what each animal is. Like, there's a hummingbird that basically has ADHD and can't sit still. There's, you know, a slow-moving bear character, I think. There's a crow that's mysterious. I don't know. It was not good. So I would say it's definitely you, because they had the opportunity to do something really fun, and the author, Juno Black, I think it's actually 2 people that write together, didn't do that. I'm sad about that, because I thought it would be a fun series, especially if they actually made it kind of interesting, but it wasn't. And then Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. This author, I cannot figure out if I love or hate. I have done extensive work to try and figure it out. There are some books that I love by T. Kingfisher, like Nettle and Bone I really liked, Paladin's Grace I loved. I feel like Sword Heart, it was trying to be Paladin's Grace. I don't know which one came first. I assume Sword Heart did, but this was so boring. Weirdly, when characters were thinking, it went from like first person to third person to first person. I just didn't care about the characters at all. I didn't like the love interest. I didn't find their romance believable. And it was a quest story that was the most boring quest and journey story ever. And that's really, really saying something, because I love a journey. One of my favorite book series of all time is the Lord of the Rings series. That put me on the fantasy quest book series train, and I've never been off of it. This almost pushed me off of the quest story train. That's how bored I was. I DNF'd this twice. Once in 2024, and then again in 2025 when I was trying to do a video where I tried to give books second chances that I had already DNF'd, and I DNF'd this twice. So that tells you something. This and one other book I DNF'd twice. I ended up scrapping that because I only had success with one book. But yeah, this one, how dare you? How dare you, T. Kingfisher, because you lull me into a false sense of security, and then you give me something trash like Sword Heart and expect me to like it. Speaking of trash, The Spell Shop. I am not fully convinced that this is not AI generated. In the book cover, which I've been told it's not. I've done research and it says it's not. It has an artist, but maybe they just put a prompt in a ChatGPT. And the story itself feels like somebody was like, give me a fun fantasy, cozy fantasy story, and then just ask ChatGPT to write it. It doesn't make sense. The world building doesn't exist. I don't care about the characters. There's some weird sentient like spider plant that it doesn't make sense as to how the spider plant is sentient, and it's an annoying character. I hated this. There's blue cats with wings. Tell me, in their evolutionary history, why? Like dragons, I can figure out why. There's other magical creatures I can figure out why. Why does a cat have wings? It wouldn't have fur. It would probably have scales. This doesn't make any sense. I know I'm going way too far, thinking too far into it, but it pisses me off. So I'm going to say how dare you, especially if this is an AI generated book. Don't get me started on AI and how bad it is for literally everything, the planet, the economy, people, other animals. Don't get me started. Do not get me started. And I'm 75% convinced that this is completely AI generated. I need to calm down. Okay. The next one is mid. I already know this is mid because You Were Fatally Invited was not good. I don't remember much except that this is trying to be an Agatha Christie book, basically. All the characters felt similar. I couldn't figure out who was who because they didn't even feel like caricatures. They just felt like cardboard cutouts. And it was trying to do a locked door mystery and didn't do it well. Next is one that I owned this book for years. I bought it when I worked at Barnes & Noble and I got 50% off of books. I missed that discount so much. So The Mountain and the Sea is supposed to be like octopi are sentient and people are drilling and doing things in the ocean and didn't ask for their permission. I can't remember if people know that these octopi are sentient or not, but they kind of, I think they're supposed to enact revenge. This was so boring. I remember it being very much like a mansplaining everything and just felt like typical white male writer syndrome. Let's see. Where do I go next? Okay. Curious Beginning by, I think, Deanna Raybourn is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell series, which I went into this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of those series because everyone loves this series. It's fun, it's cozy, it's mysteries, and they have a really, really, really slow burn romance. I was so bored and I just didn't care at all. This is just mid, and I don't get why it's so popular. I don't get how people get past the first book because it's just that boring. So unfortunately, I will not be finishing that or continuing in the series, which sucks because everyone seems to love it and I don't. So this is one of the first DNFs that I had in 2025, and that is Hench. This is a book that seemed really interesting. It's set as like how someone becomes a supervillain. It's set from their perspective and showing that the good guys may not actually be that good. I honestly don't remember much about this except that I'm pretty sure that the main character that becomes the villain, she felt really obnoxious and like, this is the reason you're becoming a villain. I don't know. It felt like she didn't have good motivations for anything and that she was a little bit pretentious and a little bit just annoying. So I'm going to say no, it's definitely you. After that, let's go to one that I think is honestly just me. This is The Summer I Ate the Rich, and this is a YA horror book. This girl is a zombie. She's also really into cooking and decides that she's going to feed the rich to the rich, I think, which sounds really interesting. It sounds like a really fun and good premise. Unfortunately, I did just kind of get bored with it. I think maybe it's not, like, it's truly a YA that's just too young for me. So I hope that a teenager will pick this up. I'm going to donate it maybe to the library or something and hope that a teenager will pick this up and love it. This one, it's not you, it's definitely me. I think I'm just not the target audience for this. And I was going to read that for Summerween because it's perfect for Summerween, and I didn't like it that much. The next book is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, and I will not be reading any Cassandra Clare or Taylor Jenkins Reid or what's her name? Court of Thorns and Roses. How do I forget her name? Sarah J. Maas. I will not be reading any of them because they support G-Side. So I started this early in the year and then had an inkling that maybe it was an allegory. Unfortunately, I looked it up and that seems to be the case. So I did DNF that about halfway through the book. And then one that was not the author's fault is They Bloom at Night. This one was, it was really slow, which is just not my style. I probably shouldn't have picked it up. I think this is why also it has to do with overgrowth of this algae, and it may be, I don't remember anything about it. It's also one that I was going to read for Summerween, and it just didn't pan out. I would try something else by that author, but it is YA. I might just not be the target audience for it. One that is, I think, the author's fault is The Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. This is just so unbelievable, and the way that the book is, it's supposed to be like this investigator goes up into this space station where people have this, it's almost like the CTE, where they get some sort of brain injury or some sort of issue that's causing them to be really violent against other people. It ends up everyone in a station, and the main character has to figure out why. But the way that this is set up, you don't have time to care about the characters. Half of the book that I don't remember how far I got into this, but maybe 30%. 20% of that 30 was flashbacks. I don't care enough about these characters yet to have these flashbacks, and it wasn't done in a way where it's like giving you actual good information. It's just, it was not good. I'm gonna say no, it's definitely you. And then one that I regret ever picking up is Blood Orange. Karina Halley, I can't read. It's too small and I'm not gonna look up what the author's name is. So Blood Orange, this is some sort of Dracula retelling romance. This is bad. It's our main character, I think, is supposed to be trying to kill Dracula, but they end up falling in love. Voltu is his name in this. And he deserves jail time for the way that he treats our main character. And she poses as like a student of his. They're in college, but it's still really gross and weird to me. So how dare you? Voltu deserves jail time, and I think this book deserves jail time too. And then The Bewitching by Sylvia Marina Garcia. This one, I felt like I had to have a degree in film or some sort of entertainment to understand all the references, or horror movie reference after horror movie reference, some horror book references. But our main character, like, there's 3 main characters that's set in 3 different timelines, and it has to do with some sort of bewitching that occurred. I don't know. you start off the book and it's just reference after reference. There's no balance. And I felt like, I'm like, this book is not for me. It's like for a very specific subset of people. And I wanted this to be good because I did kind of like Mexican Gothic by this author, but this was just too slow, meandering with too many references to movies I did not care about. It was just too slow. I'd say I'm going to keep it in mid. I'll keep it in mid. I'll be nice because I do like Celia Morena Garcia. Rewitched is one that was just bad, boring. I'm going to say mid. Just, it's one that I picked up for like the October Halloween season, and I just could not bring myself to care about anyone. Like the romance was stupid. It wasn't believable. I didn't like the premise, and I just didn't really care about it. I honestly really don't remember much about it except DNFing it. And then the same goes for Moth Eater. I'm gonna say mid as well for that because I think I just didn't like the writing in this one. It was supposed to be about this, it's like an Appalachian story about this woman who finds this weird white lady in the pond or in a stream and saves her life, and they're uncovering this whole plot, and there may be some magic or like some folk magic going on, which sounds really cool, but it ended up just not panning out and not really being what I wanted to read. It just wasn't good. And then the last and kind of least book is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. So Yours Truly by this author I absolutely loved, and I was hoping that Just for the Summer would be just as good. And this one, I just got so bored and didn't care about this at all. It's, I think, about a nurse she's a travel nurse, and they decide they're going to be together just for the summer. I just didn't care about the love story. I felt like it was too long of a book. I just wasn't a fan. I ended up DNFing this. And then later on in the year, I read Say You'll Remember Me, and that one was even worse. So maybe Abby Jimenez just isn't for me anymore, and I only liked Yours Truly. I loved her depiction of anxiety in Yours Truly. The male main character writes the female main character a letter to apologize because he came off on the wrong foot. And it's just beautiful. I loved the way that she wrote about anxiety and how realistic it felt. This was just not it. This felt like trauma porn. And so did Say You'll Remember Me. And the Say You'll Remember Me, the ending was so ridiculous. I'll maybe talk about that in a future video. But this one, I was just going to say, how dare you? Because Abby Jimenez, again, another author that edges me and makes me think that I'm really going to like something, and then I don't. I just think that her books have kind of gone downhill a little bit, unfortunately. So maybe we'll try more. But lately her stuff I have not been loving. But yeah, that's all I have as far as tier ranking for every book that I DNF'd in 2025. I hope you enjoyed this, maybe got a little bit of a laugh, and realized that I DNF things for ridiculous reasons sometimes. If you liked it, please comment, subscribe, like the video, and see you guys in the next video. Bye!